Well, guys, 32-6A used to be 32-5A. Wasn't that the district way back when Donna, Western San Benito, Harlingen? We're talking about the days of Buddy Green, who was a near and dear friend to us all. We can't do a segment on the show with you guys without paying homage to the great Bud Green. Somewhere he's listening to us and going, these guys are full of it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah, that's the family version. Right. All right, well, let's talk about this league. We started on the intro to talk about it a little bit. You think Harlingen's going to be back?
You know, I think if you ask them, they'd probably say we never went anywhere.
True.
But on paper, they did.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. To everyone else.
6-5 last year. It's not. You know, it was a down year for a lot of people.
Tell me about Tienda, the store man, to the store.
You know, he's not a big kid, but he's very strong legs. And as I was saying before, he reminds me of Fred Loredo. If anybody remembers Fred Loredo from Metcalf Chelsea, 2,000 yard back. You know, and that guy was he had good vision. Mm-hmm. You know, very patient.
Sliced through, right? Exactly. He
very
would wait,
patient.
and then he would slice through.
And that's the thing that if anybody comes over and sees Leo Tienda play, one of the first things you'll notice is, you know, for a young kid, last year was a sophomore, that was one of the things that impressed me the most was the patience he had to wait for a hole to open, and when it did, he would just hit it, and he was around for 10, 15.
Because there's a difference between waiting and exploding, and waiting and getting exploded on. Right?
Exactly.
You don't go. Tony Dorsey used to do that. Remember? You think he's going wide, now, ba-ding, he's in the end zone. What happened?
No, and that's what they have. That's what they have in Leo, and you know, he was probably expected to be a starter as a junior. He kind of got thrust into the spotlight last year when you had injuries to just about everybody except Coach Gomez, probably.
I know, yeah.
And
he was running a sling too.
And you know, a lot of these guys got a lot of playing experience, including Leo.
What about Castro?
Well, one of the still on Leo. One of the most telling characteristics for me of Leo was last year at the football game against Los Fresnos and Los Fresnos. They were coming off the loss to San Benito.
I remember. Oh, wow, what a killer.
And Leo was, you know, it was probably another 3 and out. And Leo, as a sophomore, came off the field and he was calling out everybody on the sideline.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Like,
hey, wait a minute.
Like, do you guys like to lose? Right. You know, what's everybody doing? You know, and for a sophomore to come off and command so much presence, you know.
That's
and
hard.
he's a very quiet individual. When you talk to him, maybe it's because he was a sophomore back then, but when I interviewed him a couple of times, very quiet, very efficient with his words, you know.
Right.
But when I saw him explode, it kind of reminded me of that article the Chronicle wrote about the Astros, you know, kind of with a tombstone saying the Astros are dead, and then boom, that's all they needed, the motivation.
Right.
You know, I think that's something that the coaches know is there. They know that the leadership is there for a guy like that, and they can build off of it.
And that Cardinal spirit never dies. In the old days, you watched that team, and they would have plenty of guys who would come off and say, hey, what's up? This ain't it. Let's go. Whereas other teams would all be going, I don't know. What do we do? You know, no, I think they got that back. Well, tell me, it was Jesse Castro, the guy who apparently was a great player on the lower levels. You expect him to be very effective as quarterback.
You know, I think he led an undefeated freshman campaign for Harlingen. And another guy who was thrust into the spotlight against Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
no big deal. Let's play against the guys.
Week 2, when every other quarterback went down with an injury, so they threw him out there. They lost. It was a pretty outcome. I think 42-7 or 42-0. But you know, they liked the way he handled himself for a sophomore. And he's very versatile. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball, and he's a scrambler. You know, he's not your typical drop back type of quarterback.
You like Mac? Remember Mac?
Mac Brown, yeah, Mac Brown. So and he
Mac Garza,
Mac Brown.
Mac Brown.
Hey, none of us
Who knows what Mac?
Who's the Harlingen guy here?
Johnny Mac?
Back to knife. Yeah, but no. Castro, he's got the same characteristics, and he showed some glimpses last year in some games where where he scrambled, broke a few tackles for sacks and made something happen. Yeah. And again, we caught a glimpse of what he can.
And they've had those guys in the past. Mac could do that. Desmond could do that. Quarterbacks that can not going to go down when you touch them, right?
And Harlingen has a couple of new offensive play callers on the offensive side.
Right?
With Bubba Ledesma, Coach Ledesma.
Oh yeah.
And
always throwing the ball up.
Yeah.
Always has the ball.
So these guys are young. They've been given the play calling duties. So you know it's going to be kind of exciting, and they're going to be fun to watch. They got the tools. They got the play callers. Now they just got to go and execute.
You got to execute
and bounce back from that 6-5 season.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch over to their neighbor to the about 10 miles away, 5 miles away. Is it to the east?
Yes.
San Benito?
Yeah.
I used to live on 77 Sunshine Strip, right between them. I could feel the meanness between the sides. I was looking like this.
Yeah.
The Greyhounds have had some real good teams in the recent past. Last year was probably not one of them. Do you expect them to be better, and if so, why?
Last year was a transition year for San Benito.
Okay.
Dan Gomez comes in, and they changed the culture. That's what they had to do first,
Right.
and they did that. He had a good staff, brought in Gilbert Leal, brought in some other guys he coached with at Rio Hondo, Alex Rosales, those types.
Oh, wow, yeah.
People that have been around and won games.
Right.
And they changed the culture. They had the mantra, the war dog, which
Okay.
really took off. The kids loved that. They
Nice.
rally around each other, and
Yeah.
you could just see it from one year to the next.
Okay.
Gomez came in and he said, "Hey, we're a family. We're going to play together." And you saw it. I mean, they doubled their win total.
Yeah, they were close,
They won
yeah.
that crazy Battle Arroyo. They split the title 10,000 ways with everybody else.
Yeah.
But, it was a good season for them. Now, do they make the next jump? That's what everybody wants to wait and see.
Right.
If they're going to do it, they have some new faces to do it with.
Mhm.
But with any team, what's good for San Benito is that they have 4/5 of their offensive line back.
And they're big kids, right?
Good kids.
Martinez,
Starts on the left. goes to
Vanzini.
Partida. Vanzini.
Vanzini, I like that guy. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So they got the good guys up front. They got a new quarterback. JR got done.
Right.
JR 's
Athletic, right?
Very athletic, quick, fast. If he can grow into that role and just kind of grab a hold of it and take
Right.
it,
Yeah.
He's got a chance to be really good.
What about Medrano? Is he back? Armando?
He's back. The Battle Royal hero. He's
Yeah.
back.
Ah, that was the craziest
He
game.
had gotten hurt. He's back. He had a nice catch the other night in the scrimmage against
Okay.
Shane
He's a producer, man. He's a veteran. You know he can play.
Yeah,
He can
you know
play.
he's going to be there. Around him, you got some new receivers. They got some other kids who are going to step up. They got a new running back, Edward Alvarez, who saw some carries last year.
Right, I remember him. That other kid they had was good, man.
Yeah.
God, they
He's
got
running.
some good ones.
He's at Graceland University now. Gabriel
Nice, nice. Gabriel Vasquez. Boy, he'd go to the house in a minute.
Good.
Now tell me about Richard Moreno. I've seen that guy make a lot of tackles. He's pretty tough, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's one of those guys that you want to know where he's at, and
Or you gonna find out from behind.
yeah,
Bam!
somehow. and you're gonna, he's a what they call those heat-seeking missiles.
Yeah.
He's a tackling machine.
Nice.
They put him in places where he's gonna make plays for them.
Remember Chavez?
Yeah, they do.
And that guy who made
Yeah.
about 10,000 tackles?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
They got another guy in the back end, Smiley Escamilla.
Okay.
Keep an eye on. There's a YouTube video out there in a practice where he just
Popping
that's
people.
all he does.
And that to me was San Benito back in the day. They may not have been the biggest or the fanciest, but they would hit you, man. They would pump on you all game long, man. They just would never give up. And I think that win against Harlem was kind of indicative of the old San Benito spirit.
It was,
With a new mantra.
Exactly. And they started the year good. They took it to Edinburgh early.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it kind of set the tone. That battle, they really set the tone. And they had the crazy game against veterans.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So,
How many points were scored in that game?
I
111?
forgot.
200?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the first half.
883 yards of offense, school record.
It's unbelievable.
So, but yeah, defensively they have a new coordinator, Mike Mole.
Okay,
which
I remember him.
You can say his nickname now because you coined that, right?
Yeah, I did. I called him the Moldozer because he would
Yeah.
run people over. He was a good player, man.
Yeah,
San Benito,
yeah.
really.
And he's
was.
very sharp, so kids are fired up about that. He's a San Benito guy, so they're rallying around that.
So Harlingen and San Benito might be ready to get back to the place they've been for many years. San Benito intermittently, but I mean as leaders of the district. Okay, what about Harlingen and South? Let's bounce back to you, Eladio. And remember, this guy's covered these games for many, many moons.
Yeah, Coach Wilson's coming into his fourth year, Lanny Wilson, and they went 3-7 last year, with the highlight probably being the upset against San Benito
Right.
on Halloween, I think it was,
Yeah,
or
it
on
was.
Halloween weekend.
Howling at the
It was
moon.
on,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so, I mean, that probably made the season for them. San Benito's coming in undefeated in district.
Right.
A win would have wrapped up the district crown outright, and they pulled off the upset. So I talked to them a few weeks ago, and that's one of the things that they're going to build off of. They have guys like Darren Bettis coming back, receiver, good athlete.
Right.
Steven Rodriguez, a running back, guy.
I always liked that hard-nosed guy.
Yeah.
Linebacker, you could put him anywhere.
Yeah, and he's gonna give you he's gonna produce.
Yeah.
And you got Alec
Put it
Garza,
high.
who's who to me is probably gonna be the leader of the team.
Okay.
He's been highly touted since he was a freshman. He came on as a sophomore, running back, then a receiver, cornerback. He's just an all-around athlete, great baseball player, good
Yeah.
basketball.
What about that kid on defense? Is it Leal, the defensive lineman? Manny?
Luna.
Luna, okay.
Yeah, he's probably gonna enter that defensive group, but I think that if they got a pretty tough non-district schedule, I think with
Yeah.
Edward Vela, you got West Louise, PSA Memorial,
That's a
if
tough one.
you can get out of there, with a win, or 2 wins, or 3 wins, but if you can get out of there healthy, coming to the district, and playing the Brownsville schools of Harlingen
Right.
and Los Fresnos, San Benito, I think that if they can gain the confidence they can early on, they got the right leadership as far as seniors to kind of rally the kids. And if they can get on a little roll early on, man, well, even let's say with 3 losses to those really good teams,
But good playing in those games.
but good playing those
Right,
games,
25
stage
to
or free,
27.
come in and say, look what Bronson Rivera did last year, you know? I mean,
Incredible.
they lost the first half of the season practically,
Yeah.
but they were good losses, if you can call them good losses.
Yeah, they're competitive. They
You're
just didn't have
competitive, no
perfect-
injuries, and you
Right.
learn from it, and then you come into district and you make it pay off.
Well, so South is one of those teams to me, again, they've been good in the past. Hell, I remember it took them 3 years to get 3 deep. Remember that? I mean, it wasn't too long. They hit the ground running in the 90s. I mean, they've been good intermittently, real good.
No,
And I think they feel like they should be good.
And you talk about Cardinal Spread Never Dies right now, you know, it obviously started there, but the same pride that you have at Harlingen High, you have at Harlingen South,
Yeah.
and I can tell you firsthand, it doesn't sit well going 3-7 to their
No,
fans.
that ain't them. They don't want to be
You know,
that.
and
Nobody wants to be that, but yeah.
if you ask any old school Cardinal, it's like, hey man, that's Harlingen. We shouldn't have a team in Harlingen go 3-7. We shouldn't have a team in Harlingen go
Yeah, right.
0-10.
Exactly.
You know, I don't care if they're red or they're green. We shouldn't have a team in Harlingen
Yeah.
lose. So that didn't sit well with them. You know, there's a lot of
So
pride.
they
over
got
there.
motivation.
They definitely got the motivation, and Coach Wilson's the right guy right now to have there.
I think he's
So
a
it's
great
like
coach.
he's the kind of guy that says, you know what, he just wants athletes that are going to give him an effort,
Right.
and that's what he has right now.
And he's made some tough decisions.
The group that he has right now in pads is the group that he wants, the one that's gonna bust their butts every day at practice, and they come out and want to win. You know, I mean, for a long time and now and probably until there's a third high school, if that ever happens in
Yeah.
Harlingen,
Yeah.
you know, they're still going to be the second.
Yeah, they're always playing up hill
They're always the
against
little
that,
brother,
yeah.
but you know, there's
That's motivation too.
that's motivation enough, and there's been teams in the past that have used that. You know, in 07, the Sean Messick group.
Oh, what a
You know,
team,
The
what
year
a
before
team.
that, when he was a junior, you had the guys like Logan Brown and Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, those
What's
guys,
the baseball player?
those guys took that we're nobody's little brother to heart, and that's what they used
And
to
they
win
were
on Friday
undefeated
nights and to
district,
beat
weren't
Harlingen back-to-back years.
Back to back.
To that effect, I mean, the attitude change, it goes such a long way. You know, and again, you saw that in San Diego last year. You bring in a new group and say, hey, I mean, we're not scared of anybody.
Right. Forget
And-
about that underdog.
Yeah,
stuff. We're
now
gonna play.
this is us going forward.
Right.
And you saw it in San Diego. You've seen it at South too.
And they got new helmets. I mean, they're taking this new attitude.
I saw them.
They're
Yeah,
taking
those
this
are
new
pretty
attitude
cool looking, man.
to another level, and some people say,
Yeah.
it's just the uniform. You know what? These are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids.
It means a lot to them.
And if you say, you know what, we're starting new, it's a new season,
Right.
here's the new uniform, new helmet, and it looks sharp. I mean, these kids are like, hey man,
Classical conditioning.
it's brand new year, let's go out there and beat everybody. So,
You're busting out the theorists now.
I know, yeah, I really am. And Foucault, according to 1912. All right, now let's talk about Los Fresnos, because there's a program that I was thinking about the other day. They pretty well arrived in Clint Finley. They expect to be in the playoffs every year. They had that stretch where they made it, didn't win. Last year, 3 deep. Only 3 teams went 3 deep on the 6A level. The Falcons were one of them. Here, I'm not just going to say, can they do it again, but do you expect them to be very competitive again? Because I do.
I do too.
Yeah,
And-
why wouldn't
and yeah, exactly. And then I think now they're they were one of the last of the Mohicans with grass.
Yeah.
Now they got the turf there. So.
Oh, man, how can you chew tobacco on artificial turf? Dang it, go out to Rio Hondo and get that done.
Yeah, there you go.
ahead.
But yeah, I mean, you know, just the overall program, it's the way Clint Finley's come in, he's brought in good coaches around him, and now they expect to win. It wasn't like, oh, okay, wow, here comes those Fresnos out of nowhere.
Right.
Kind of that run they had, 06, 07, 08,
Whoa.
04. You know, 3D.
No.
No, now they've done it once, they got the monkey off their back. Now
Yeah,
they just
and it's a
take it.
different program with the same success. Not maybe at quite the level, but I mean, in other words, people expect and they expect themselves to be there. They got a good running back. They're trying out a new quarterback named Ortega. I feel is going to be pretty good. But Isaac Moreno is a running back I was telling you about. He just gets upfield. He's not going to go for 3,000 yards, but you know what? He's a very effective runner. They got Pete Pettis, a little bitty receiver. He's a good player. And I like Fabian Rodriguez. I was telling you guys earlier, I think he's one of the better safeties. He could be a strong safety or free. So they've got some talent.
They always have size there. Los Fresnos.
Bruce Waters is the offensive lineman to watch.
and they play defense there, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you watch any game that Los Fresnos is in, and their defense is always gonna, swarm
Once it hands to the ball, I was
yeah,
about to
swarm
say,
to
yeah,
the
they'll
ball,
hit you, man, because Clint was a
and they're
hitter.
gonna make things happen.
Yeah, they take on his personality. Well, we talked briefly about Rivera, and they've been the surprise and the mystery team for years. You remember back when PSJ North was undefeated, Rivera came up in the playoffs and beat them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they did that in basketball, they did it in football. Rivera is that team that can be crafty on you. Can they do it again? Can we pick against them to not do it again
Yeah.
at our peril, right?
Well, they're gonna have to do it without Danny Elizondo, and that kid was special.
Oh, I loved him.
He was
Loved
fun
that
to watch.
kid.
You know,
Yeah.
I saw him in week 10 last year in the rain. He was just slinging it everywhere.
Nice, great.
I know they have that good receiver back too,
Yeah.
who can catch passes. So,
Yeah.
you know, they can
Oribe.
use last year. Yeah,
Sammy
exactly.
Oribe.
There you go,
Yeah.
Sammy. You know,
I used to think it was Olive, but it's not Oribe.
Oribe, right. You know, they know they can do it. And Tom Chavez is as wily as anybody that's out there. Sometimes he's not the young bucks, but like these other guys, but he can still coach football.
He was coaching it when these cats were in their diapers. They're going to have a better defense, I think. They've got some kids. Albert Segura is a pretty good linebacker, 52 over there. They got 2 defensive starters back. Can't remember the name, but they're pretty solid. So, I mean, maybe they can be a more defensive-minded team. I think they'll be in the mix, and I can't say that they won't.
They'll definitely be in the mix, and you know, I mean, when you look at the top 2 spots,
Melchiora's one of them.
top 2 spots, you figure it's Orange and Los Fresnos. You know, nothing's a given, but you figure
Smart money so far.
smart money's on
Okay.
Orange and Los Fresnos.
Yeah.
Then you got everybody else vying for those 2 spots. You know,
Yeah.
San Benito, South. You know, Rivera.
One we haven't talked about
Brownsville Veterans.
yet.
Brownsville Veterans is, you know, they're always big and talented. And David Cantu's got a good thing going on.
Marcus.
Yeah, the
That's-
quarterback, Gustavo was a good player, Vasquez. I think Carlos Garcia, the running back, is back. Won't take longer. They got some big linemen. They got a big team. I love Joey Barra, the linebacker. That guy's been playing for like 9 years. He's tough, man. Veterans going to be right there.
They are. And last year they didn't make the playoffs. And
They've had
6
some
wins.
poor luck. I know,
And
yeah.
David Cantu's sharp as a tack.
Isn't he? Isn't he?
And
Yeah, he's a great coach.
great coach. So I'm pretty sure he's not going to want to sit on the sidelines for two years.
No, and here's the thing. He's a great coach. We love him to death. The kids love him. This is his time to push them through so he can get to that point Los Fresnos is at. So we can get to the point South wants to get back to. In other words, when you win, you win. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But when you don't, sometimes it always seems like you just don't. Oh, we were close. So this is a big year for veterans. I can see them getting in.
Yeah.
What about, go ahead.
I was going to say another veteran coach that's also, I'm sure, wants to get to the playoffs is Rene Medrano over at Henry. You know, and they've been there with their quarterback, Andy Lopez, who's
I love that guy.
Yeah,
Don't
like
you talk
you
about
said.
another 9-year veteran.
Exactly, I was gonna
Exactly.
tell you.
He throws a beautiful ball.
Yeah, he does.
so.
And that means a lot. So they may not have quite the weapons they had last year. They graduated the receivers and backs. But that kid's a magician, man.
Yeah, but-
Maybe the Elizondo of this year.
But if you're gonna have one guy coming back who's got talent and leadership, you want him at the quarterback position.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
you always want your quarterback to be some kind of leader, whether it's a vocal leader
Yeah.
or a leader that by the
Example.
way he plays by example.
Right.
And I think in Andy they got both.
Yeah.
So if you hear him talk, he sounds pretty confident that this is going to be their year, that they're going to make some kind of run at the playoffs.
And to that effect, you know, Lopez is not going to go over.
No, they've got a couple of good kids.
They'll be
Oliva
better.
is the guy down there
They'll be
that's
better.
a game breaker. You know, there was a time when the Lobos were pretty dang good.
They were.
You know, when Montemor was down there.
Right.
So I feel like, you know, they're another team that, here's the mantra of the section here, the segment. How do teams get from here to here and get back to where they want to be? Once you get there, you can stay there if you do the right thing. Yeah, it's interesting.
And all these teams are trying to do that.
It's a dogfight, man. Maybe that's a black and blue division there. Is there anybody we didn't talk about?
No, and I was going to say, we pick Orange and Los Fresnos at the top of the heap, but anything can happen in the course of the season.
Veterans want
We saw
it,
last
man.
year. I mean,
They want it. They got enough talent to make it
there's
happen.
no doubt that from top to bottom, you know, everybody wants it. You know, everybody's got something to prove.
Yeah,
Los
right.
Fresnos has to prove that they can go three
deep again. What a season.
Orange has got to prove that last year isn't going to be the
Right.
norm.
Imagine-
South has to
yeah.
prove. Everybody's got
That was an
something.
anomaly last year. That ain't us.
Every team in that district has something to prove. Even Lopez, you know, it's like we don't belong at the bottom.
No,
You know,
I don't
we're not happy being in the bottom of the heap.
That makes for
belong-
great games.
and it makes for a great loot.
You don't
Yeah.
want people saying, "Oh, who do we forget?" Right? You don't want to be that team. It's like, "Oh man."
Yeah, you know, you break them down team by team. Like everybody's got something to prove. Whether it's a team as a whole, whether it's a coach, David Cantu saying, "You know what, we got there. Last year we did it. We got to get back." Whether it's Finley or Rene Medrano, Tom Chavez to say, "You know what,
Bunch of
last
great
year wasn't a fluke. I may be old, but I can still get us there." And
And let's face it, going down to Sam's is always fun. Now, the grub down there is not quite as good as it was in the Paul Canatzer days. But it's still pretty good.
We got a Paul Canatzer reference.
Yeah, it's halfway
Wow,
through.
that's great.
He's living in England now.
So,
Yes.
so
I sent him a Texas football.
Yeah.
I sent him a Texas football in the
Oh,
mail.
really?
But the Texas football this year somehow got the information that Donna won the state championship in 1960.
Oh, no. That's,
There were a couple of things that were a little screwy about that, but
I
it's
haven't
still
read
the
it for-
Bible.
I
It's
haven't read it for
still-
a few
It's
years.
still the Bible. I mean, but 1960, I mean, maybe a break. Anyway, so I thought I'd throw that in there. You know me, always rife to throw an insult to someone else's way.
maybe Canatzer will write him a letter or something.
Hey, he might.
He's got time.
Hey, he certainly does. All right, well, that's 32-6A, Montegradason. What's your name again? Eladio. Hi, Miss, dearest friend of mine. One of these days I'll tell you a story about what happened after 9/11. We were over at Pan Am, had classes. Remember that whole
Yeah.
crazy thing? We're going to come back and we're going to talk sub 5As. No, we're going to talk 5As and then sub 5As. As the show's preview show